Morning folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. What I'd like to discuss this morning is the Nordic Pocket Saw. It's a new product that we're currently carrying from Sweden. And it's very much like a lot of the saws on the market today, like a pocket chainsawing type device. And I think there's a lot of misconception about these pocket chainsaws and why you should have one and what they're used for. And they're not all created equal, I can tell you that for sure from using several of them in the past. I've also got an antique pocket chainsaw or pouched chainsaw that was issued to the Swedish military in the 40s. And for my money, what I would say the usage of a pocket saw like that are, a folding type chainsaw, is not for felling live trees to make shelters and things like that. Although you could do that, but you'd have to be cognizant of the size tree you're cutting down because it's pretty dangerous. I've seen guys demonstrating these saws where they're standing in front of the tree and they're cutting it from the front side like this, and they're creating a kerf in the back side of that tree, which is which way the tree wants to go when you open up that kerf. So if for some reason that tree were to fall over or barber chair off and kick back, you're going to take that tree right in the face. So I wouldn't think that that would be the smart money. I think that these pocket chainsaws were really made for more of trail clearing as an emergency saw when you're not carrying a large bucking type saw or a long bladed crosscut saw or some type of chainsaw. So you're going down the trail on your ATV and you're scouting an area and there's a log across the trail and you can't move it because it's too long. So, and you can't get past it because it's too big. So what are you going to do? You're going to try to cut a section out of that log to get past it. And a pocket saw or a pocket folding saw is not going to work well for that because of the diameter of the tree. Now you could use this for bucking up firewood, 2 to 4 inch material that was dead wood on the ground. There's no question about that. But I don't think that's the design intent of this type saw. I think the design intent is for trail clearing and emergencies for vehicles to bypass an obstacle more than just I'm going to use this thing every day of the week. And I don't think they were made, again, for cutting down live trees. So I'm going to demonstrate the proper use of this pocket saw, and I'm also going to show you a really cool antique Swedish chainsaw or pocket saw. It's a little bigger than the pocket saws today. It takes up a little more room. It's got a little more bulk. But I think you'll be impressed by how this thing was made and the ingenuity. And it's good to understand that, again, there's really nothing new in this craft. There's nothing new in woodsmanship, bushcraft, or anything else. These pocket chainsaws have recently become popular in the last probably 10 years. But this saw is from the 1940s and it's virtually the same thing with bigger teeth. Stay with me. All right, so I've got the Nordic Pocket Saw here, and you can see it's pretty small in its package, and it could go right on your belt or in a compartment on your ATV. This is the Swedish military version of that type of saw. And we're gonna get this out. I gotta be kind of careful with this because it's pretty old and the leather is pretty rotten on it. So I've got to be careful getting it out of here so I don't tear up the leather cover for it. And the way it came was it came with 2 wooden handles, whereas today the saws tend to have straps on them. And then the saw was folded up inside just like this. And you can see the size of those huge teeth on that thing. And they've, they're got a really, really wide kerf on them. And you would put the toggles in, and then you would use this just like a normal pocket chainsaw, pulling it back and forth. But again, I think this brute was made for cutting down or cutting up quite beefy pieces of lumber, not made for cutting down saplings or bucking up small pieces of firewood necessarily. It all came in this metal sleeved case right here that it slid down inside of, and the handles fit on top of that, just like this, one beside the other. So that's a pretty cool antique, but it also shows you where these saws kind of originated probably or came from. I'm sure some of the other armies use them as well over there in Europe, but it's good to know that this stuff is not anything new, that it's been around for a long time, and look at different designs of these older tools, because then we can relate that to the newer tools and say, well, they don't make them like they used to, because you're going to see that this saw that I've got here is nothing compared to this saw. But again, this is for emergency use. It's not made for the military. It wasn't made to be something that's bomb-proof. It's made for emergency use and maybe only being used a few times. But this saw comes in a plastic bag. in the pouch. It's got two orange straps on it that are connected at a swivel point, and it basically is a chainsaw blade. Now this thing is not near as long as the one I just showed you, but you can get a pretty good girth, or get that around a pretty good girth of a tree to cut with it. And you have to make sure that you've got the blade facing the right direction. And really, the difference between this saw, this Nordic Pocket Saw, and some of the other chainsaws or pocket chainsaws that I've seen on the market really is the way this chainsaw chain is put together, and the way these teeth are made are much more robust than most of them I see on the market. And then you can fold it up really easily and put it back into the pouch for storage for later use. So let's go out and use this thing and see how she cuts. Okay, so here's a fallen pine that's been cut up a little bit already to get it out of the trail. But I don't have anything in the trail because we keep the trail maintenance up pretty good out here at the school. But this one, toward the base of it, is probably, I don't know, 8-10 inches in diameter. Something that you really wouldn't want to cut with a handsaw for sure. So if that much of the tree was laying out here in the trail and we couldn't move it and we had to cut it, that's where the pocket saw comes in. So we're going to pick on an area of that tree that's a little bigger instead of coming out here toward the backside of it where it's only like 4 to 5 inches. That way we get a good demonstration of how well this saw works. Okay, so we're going to straighten our saw out and put it underneath the area that we're going to cut. Get all the debris out of our way here. We want to make sure that the blades are facing up, that we're away from any knots. And the blade comes pre-oiled. That's why it's in a plastic bag. So when you take this thing home after you've used it, you want to make sure that you oil it. Now you would think that you would want to do this in a bicep motion, pulling with your biceps, but you really don't. What you want to do is you just want to keep your arms straight and rock your body like this. Okay guys, that was just a quick look at the Nordic Pocket Saw. Again, when you're done with it, all you have to do is kind of roll it into a circle around itself, just like this. And it stores right in that same pouch, really, really easily. Take it home, throw some fresh oil on it so that it's ready to go for the next time you need it. Again, I think it's a great tool for use in a hunting or scouting situation, especially if you are traveling by an ATV or something like that, where you don't have a lot of room to store a lot of big tools, and you might need something to get an emergency log or obstruction out of your way. But you could absolutely use this thing for bucking up smaller pieces of firewood around camp as well if you didn't have another saw. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. I appreciate you joining for this video today. I thank you for all your support. I thank you for everything you do for our school, our family, and for our business, for all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends, and I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.